Good morning. We're going to be doing a psychic card reading for the week of March 26th through April the 2nd. That's kind of a midweek reading for the end of March into April. If you were with me last time, you know that the cards I pulled last week were incredibly accurate, and I thank you, Spirit, for the gift of that warning. For me, in particular, by the way, my name is Susanna. I'm a Clair-Intuitive. I help my clients create portals to work with relationship problems in other dimensions. But I also have really started liking to do this psychic reading for the week. And this week I'm using Amanda Ellis again. Her deck, the Christ Consciousness deck, which I really love. And I'm going to be sure and do some shuffling in front of the camera, because for the last 2 weeks I kept getting this card, that beautiful card, which I psychically read to be an event. And man, did we have an event here in the Ozarks. We had a tornado that ripped through basically our backyard. It missed our house, but it hit a lot of our neighbors. And I mean, this is literally a tree down with someone crying on it, which there are trees everywhere. I know this hasn't been covered very much in the national news, but it was pretty devastating for southern Missouri, northern Arkansas, up into Tennessee. So yeah, I'd say this happened. The interesting thing is this card has been moving in the last couple of weeks through this. It was spiritual, and then it was mental. And I'm wondering, my mind is going to be blown if it shows up again in the physical, because this really speaks to, even though it came up in the micro sense for my little community and other communities, to me this is a bigger card for our nation. And my readings are for the United States and North America. So, goodness. So with that said, let's get to it. So I'm going to very carefully in front of the camera put that in the middle of the deck. And these cards are big, so I have a hard time shuffling them. I really have a hard time shuffling them up above my face, but I want to do that so that there's no question about me as a human messing with the cards. And I'm even going to do a little bridge. My grandma would be so proud of me. My maternal grandmother taught me to play poker, and she always stole our money to teach us a lesson. There we go. Okay. I think I'm going to give them one more shuffle, just so Spirit has a chance, another chance. God Source, we ask you first to give us a card for the spiritual collective of the United States for the weeks thereabout of March 26th through April the 2nd. And in the spiritual space, the garden. The garden. Receive and heal. Oh, this is a beautiful card. I love these cards. Receive and heal. The garden. So for me, this is a card in the spiritual sense that we've been through a tumultuous time here in my world locally, but also in the greater country. Spring has sprung. The spring equinox has just happened. To me, this is a card about, in our spiritual spaces, to embrace the changing seasons and the potentiality of new growth. This actually came up in my last reading also, this idea of new growth and new paths and new ways, and it says receive and heal. And so for me, this card is speaking to in our spiritual time to lift our gaze from the ground, to see the flowers, to hear the birds, to really embrace the changing seasons. And if you're watching this and you're in Australia, that would be the opposite, that things would be going to bed. There's always a beauty in the changing of seasons, because this feels very hopeful to me. This feels very hopeful to me. All right. So that's spiritually. Emotionally, how are we doing in the United States this week? Up until April the 2nd, 2025. Past April the 1st. How are we feeling emotionally? Hopeful is what I'm getting. Hopeful. Hopeful. That's good. Let's see what the card says. Oh my gosh, I've gotten this card before too. So there's 55 cards in this deck, and really amazes me when I get them again. This is temptation, moral compass. So in our emotional spaces, we may be tempted to act out. Let me lean into this claircognitively. To me, this, I know there are a lot of, just in case you're popping on here for the first time, I'm pro-democracy. I'm not entirely thrilled with the current administration, to put it mildly. So to me, this speaks to this idea that people are starting to protest. People are starting to protest on all sides of the political spectrum. Even my little tiny town in the Ozarks, we have a protest, I think, at the end of this week. I'm not sure which side of the political spectrum it's on. It's about overriding the voter initiative. I honestly don't know, but this feels to me, this card feels like if you're going to be taking part, and actually, I'm just seeing one of my girlfriends went to a AOC Bernie event in Denver. There's all kinds of things. There's a brewing going on in the collective about how do we express our discontent? How do we express what we're not happy about? And that's, I mean, I know this is happening across the political spectrum. And they're telling me there's and I think this is true, there's a move fast and break things, I may have read that, attitude in this administration where whatever gets broken doesn't matter. And so now the things that are broken, the things that may have unintentionally been harmed or hurt, people are welling up. So this is in the emotional, again, this is in the emotional sense. I think be cautious about exposing yourself personally. Be cautious about letting your emotions get riled up in these interactions that may be coming this week, or there may be opportunities for dialogue. You know, I don't think we've done a lot of talking to each other. And I adore my community, even though they often don't agree with me politically. It feels like we may start talking. The whole country may start talking to each other, whereas we've been in our little tribal camps. We may start talking, and in those exchanges, there may be opportunity for overwrought emotion. I'm feeling it in my chest too. So to me, this is a card of take a breath. Take those opportunities to listen so that we can come back together as a community eventually. That's what we want as a nation, one nation, under whatever God you believe in. So yeah, this is a cautious card to me in the emotional state. So I'll just put that one down. Okay. How are we feeling mentally this week into April the 2nd? How are we feeling mentally? How am I feeling mentally? How am I feeling mentally? Actually, I feel pretty good, honestly. I do. I feel good. We've been out of town. We just got back. We've got a lot of destruction here locally. I guess I feel hopeful. I don't know. feeling pretty hopeful. All right, mentally, how we feeling? Cherish children. Cherish and enter their world. Children, cherish and enter the world mentally. Yeah, I know what this means for me. So for me, I feel like this idea of dialogue. So we just had the opportunity to spend the week with our three young adult sons, and I'm amazed at how their worldview differs from ours. And I know this has happened in every generation. But they are such an inspiring group of young adults, and I mean they're my kids, but I mean they're friends too. Like this whole next generation is, they just don't let things bother them that we used to get hung up on, or our parents used to get hung up on. And I love that fluidity of viewing the world with a more open and the thing I wonder about this generation is, what do they care about? What do they care about? Because they grew up with phones, they grew up with things that we didn't have. And if you're from that generation, thank you for being here. Love and respect to you. I'm sorry for the mess the world is in. So for me, this card means, let's figure it out. Let's figure out mentally, what does this next generation care about? And if we're talking about the political landscape, we need to know, or someone needs to know what they care about, because I can tell you, just speaking with my young adults and the ones I'm around, the idea that we don't have health care, or health care that is affordable or will allow them to go and be the free spirits they want to with the safety net really bothers them. So some of the things that the greater world prioritizes, they think are important too. The climate, all these really serious storms, they worry them. So this is a really cool card. I want to encourage you, if you have a young adult in your life, or a millennial, or a Z, or whatever they're called, use your mental space this next week to ask questions and listen. And don't just listen. I mean, goodness, I don't agree with everything that they say, but they are very inspirational. It says on the side, cherish and enter their world. So there you go. All right, mentally. Physically. All right, physically, what do we got going? Physically, what do we have going? Physically. Thank goodness we didn't get the tree again. Abundance. Enjoy life fully. Physically. Abundance. Enjoy life fully. Okay, what does this mean for us physically? Abundance, joy. You know what this means to me? I know the card says abundance, enjoy life fully. To me, this card means maybe stock up your there's all this idea of things becoming more expensive and groceries becoming more expensive. To me, this means making some preparations in our physical space. For example, I came back to a completely bare, when I say bare, I mean bare, because we had no electricity, and I had to beg a friend to empty out my refrigerator for me. There's literally nothing in my refrigerator. To me, this card is about thoughtfully going out and getting supplies, being prepared for some financial downturns, being prepared for a possible grid collapse. I'm not trying to scare you. I don't think these things will last, but it has felt for a while, and I actually gave our kids cash as they went off to their lives and told them not to spend it. It feels like a system that we rely on is going to go down temporarily. Whether it's our debit cards working, our electric grid just went down because of the storms. It feels like we're going to have a little bit more of that, but we don't have to be rocked by it. We don't. We don't have to be rocked by it. We can be abundant even in times of scarcity by planning ahead and preparing. And so, is that card? Abundance. Enjoy life fully. All right, so for this next week through April the 1st, we've got the garden spiritually, temptation, for me that's a temperance card emotionally, children mentally, the next generation, and abundance physically. So, this is how I, Claire, cognitively read these cards. I'm going to do something new because after my last reading, I started writing the details for the YouTube, and I got all kinds of information, claircognitively, clairvoyantly from Spirit. So I'm going to turn the tape off in a minute and do some claircog writing. But for right now, Spirit, what else do you want us to know about this coming week? Peace, peace, peace. And I'm getting a real sense of peace. And I think it's a piece of knowing that things are going to be all right. This idea that things are rough right now. Storms are rolling through. Things are difficult. But eventually, how soon, God Source, will we feel this peace? So what I'm getting is the peace is your perspective. So you can choose to be in you can choose to be agitated and upset and distraught, or you can choose to be peaceful in your heart and in your mind, because it's that old saying, choose your hard. Like, you cannot sleep, you can let your physical condition deteriorate because you're so upset, or you can choose to just be peaceful in this moment, pull your focus in, protest in whatever way is meaningful to you safely. Overall, what I'm getting is they want us to be careful with our human-to-human interactions, and as much as we can to be loving with our human-to-human interactions. Okay, so I'm going to do some journaling, and I'll be back with the further message from Spirit. And let's have a great week. I'll see you next week for the next reading, and I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm back. So I'm calling this download, or this claircog message that Spirit just gave me, the front porch. And you'll see what I'm talking about as I read it to you. As a reminder, we've got the garden, the children, the abundance, and the temptation to argue with our fellow humans. And so I like to explain a little bit of my process, because I hope you'll be inspired to develop your own. And also, I should have mentioned, as each of these cards are pulled, just to read into or feel into what they might mean for you in your world. So I get Clair-Intuitive messages clairvoyantly, which is with internal sight, claircognitively, which is like a knowing, and clairsentiently, which is feeling. And so I would say my strongest sense is clair feeling, and I tend to rely on that a lot. But when I'm getting a clair cognitive message, I'll show you here. You see my clair cognitive message. There's not a lot of feeling involved. It's just writing down the words as they come and the message as it comes. And sometimes there'll be a clairvoyant, like an image. If I don't quite get it, they'll show me an image to sharpen the message. And they showed me a front porch in this message. So let me read it to you, and we'll take it from there. So this is the claircognitive message for April 26th through April 22nd, the front porch. And in this coming time, you will pass the date you call April Fool's Day, which is true. I had not realized. And we remind you of the card in the ancient tarot deck, the Fool, which is to signify new beginnings. And indeed, it is spring. in most of your country. This week, do not miss the joy of the coming summer and growing season, but also prepare for drought. Prepare without fear. Prepare a little each day, perhaps with a bigger overall plan to guide you. In ancient times in your country, this was also a season of empty larders and stretching resources. Do this now, and in your mind, honor your generational ancestors who managed lack by singing on their front porches. And as those gatherings happen, be soft with your listening and soft with your purpose and soft with your response. Offer tea or lemonade or even a cool glass of water, for humanity can be evil and cruel for greed and gain and avarice, but it can choose love. It is our message to you for this week. Disagree, but do so to maintain your neighbor and not make an enemy. So I know some people might find that to be, I don't know, I feel like as I got it, I felt like an apologist for how do we disagree without saying it's okay? Things that we morally, ethically feel are wrong. How do we disagree and still leave the door open to our neighbor? I don't know. I mean, I think it's a challenge. I think this message is a challenge. It's a foretelling of the energies that are coming. And I want to ask you to take each of the cards, to take this reading, and take it inside yourself and decide what it means for you, what's true, what's not. Yeah. This is the purpose of this reading is to help you. But consider as you go about your week whether you can be open to hear, and in doing so, maybe not slam that door on your front porch. So there you go. That's a reading I got. It's a challenging one. It's a challenging one. I'm going to have to really think about it. They're giving me another message. It's the old that old poem. This is a challenge. This is the crux to the challenge. It's that old poem. They came for, so and so, and I didn't do anything because it wasn't me. They came for so and so, and I didn't do anything because it wasn't me. And that idea that how do we use our voices to say this isn't okay, but not alienate the community that we hope to rebuild one day. And when I say community, I don't mean my community, I mean our country. We are divided and really struggling with each other, struggling to understand each other. And I think the answer that they're giving me is you have to start with empathy. You have to start with understanding that whatever has created the human situation that in your neighbor, let's just call him your neighbor, in whoever you're going to encounter at the gas station, at the grocery store, or wherever these interactions are going to happen. As much as you're able, give some grace that this person is a product of what they've experienced in their life, and they're not a bad human. While still, that's a tough one. I think this is a tough moral moment, and I think that this is a moment for humanity to thread that needle and step up to the new awakening, and I'm here for it. So I'll be back next week. Good luck in all of your community spaces, or in your protests, or in whatever you're doing this week. Don't forget to purposely restock your larders, and prepare for a drought, and mostly do so without fear, because when we have fear, we invite in more fear. We invite in more strife, less sleeping, all those things. Take care of yourself, get your body outside, enjoy the sun, and yeah. So I'm Susanna. If you want to book with me, I do have my bookings open. I think the link is here and on my website. I'd love to work with you, and I'm really enjoying these readings. So if you want to see the one next week, like, subscribe, or follow, share, whatever you feel appropriate doing, and I'll see you then. Thank you. Bye-bye.